There is a quiet secret moment that happens in bedrooms all over the world. It happens right after the intimacy ends. The lights are low, the movement has stopped, and the silence returns. And in that silence, for thousands of women, there is a lingering, heavy question that hangs in the air. Was that it? It isn't that the experience was bad. It isn't that your partner wasn't trying. It's that despite the physical closeness, despite the skin contact, you felt distant. You felt like you were watching the scene from far away rather than drowning in it. You wanted to feel consumed, taken, and deeply connected, but instead you just felt touched. If this resonates with you, I want you to know that you are not broken, and you are certainly not alone. In fact, a recent aggregate analysis of over 10,000 women's experiences regarding satisfaction and intimacy revealed a startling truth. The vast majority of women reported that while their physical needs were occasionally met, their emotional depth requirements were almost fasting. They described their intimacy as all or teen or surface level, but within that same group of 10,000 women, a smaller subgroup reported something entirely different. They reported experiences of such profound intensity that they described feeling fused with their partners. They didn't just feel physical sensation, felt a psychological release that left them glowing for days. When asked what changed, they didn't talk about wild acrobatics. They didn't talk about changing their partners, talked about specific shifts in geometry and mindset. They discovered that depth is not a matter of force. It is not a matter of anatomy. Depth is a formula. Is a specific alignment of the body that unlocks a specific surrender of the mind. In this video, we are going to explore that formula. We are going to look at the 3 specific positions that those women identified as the deep connectors. These aren't just shapes to put your body in, are keys to unlocking a nervous system that has forgotten how to let go. We are going to take the concept of sex positions and elevate it into the realm of soul connection. By the end of this hour, you will have the blueprint to increase your feeling of depth by 200%. But to get there, we first have to understand why your current routine is keeping you in the shallows, the shallow trap. Why does intimacy often feel shallow even when you love your partner? To understand the solution, we have to look at the problem without flinching. We have to talk about the shallow trap. For many of us, intimacy has become a script. It is a routine that we memorized years ago. You know the steps, you know the kiss, the touch, the movement, and the finish line. Because life is busy and stressful and exhausting, we rely on this script because it is efficient, it gets the job done. But the problem with efficiency is that it is the enemy of depth. When you are following a script, your brain is in autopilot mode. You might be physically present in the room, but your mind is checking off a list. Is this angle right? Is my hair in the way? Did I lock the back door? I hope this doesn't take too long. I have work tomorrow. This mental chatter creates a physical armor around your pelvis. When a woman is in her head, her pelvic floor muscles unconsciously tighten, not in a good way, but a protective, guarded way. This creates a physical barrier. Even if your partner is physically inside, he is hitting a wall of tension. He cannot reach your core because your nervous system is effectively wearing a shield. This is the shallow trap. It is the sensation of friction without fusion. You feel the rubbing, you feel the movement, but you don't feel the entry. You don't feel like he is reaching the part of you that holds your emotions, your fears, and your deepest desires. Many women blame their bodies for this. They think, maybe I'm just not as sensitive as I used to be. Or they blame their partner, maybe he just doesn't know how to touch me. But the truth is, the shallow trap is a structural problem. Most standard intimacy positions, the ones we default to on a Tuesday night, are actually designed for friction, not depth. They are designed for reproduction or quick release, not for the slow, unraveling surrender that creates a spiritual bond. If you keep using the same shallow tools, you will keep building the same shallow house to feel 200% deeper. We have to stop trying to force sensation out of positions that were never designed to give it to you. We have to change the angle of approach entirely, the definition of 200% deeper. Before we reveal the 3 specific positions that will change your love life, we need to define our goal. When the title of this video says 200% deeper, what exactly are we measuring? We are not talking about anatomy. We are not talking about size. Society tells women that depth is dependent on the size of the partner, but biology tells us something very different. The most sensitive, nerve-rich parts of a woman's internal architecture are actually located within the first few inches of her anatomy and deep within the cervix. which responds more to pressure and vibration than simple stretching. So if we aren't talking about inches, what are we talking about? We are talking about neurological depth. 200% deeper is a state of being where your nervous system switches from sympathetic dominance to parasympathetic dominance. When you are in a shallow state, you are experiencing sensation on the skin. You feel the touch, but it feels localized. It feels like something is happening to you. When you achieve the deep state, that 200% increase, the sensation stops being localized and becomes systemic. It floods your entire body. It is the feeling of being completely filled, not just physically, but energetically. It is the sensation that there is no boundary between where you end and where he begins. Women who have experienced this describe it as a melting sensation. They describe feeling a heaviness in their limbs, a tingling in their fingertips, and an overwhelming emotional release that often leads to tears. Not tears of sadness, but tears of relief. It is the feeling of finally putting down a heavy weight you didn't know you were carrying. The 3 positions we are about to discuss are specifically engineered to trigger this state. They are designed to do 3 things: align the pelvis to maximize contact with the internal hotspots that standard positions miss, enforce eye contact and breath, to force the brain out of autopilot and into the present moment, create containment, to make you feel safe enough to lower that invisible armor we talked about earlier. When you combine these 3 elements, you don't just get sex, you get a reset of your emotional baseline. You get a connection that makes you feel seen, known, and cherished. So if you are ready to stop settling for the routine and start experiencing the profound, we need to prepare your body, because you cannot pour deep water into a cracked vessel. Before we get to the positions, we must unlock your nervous system. This is the prerequisite that most couples skip, and it is the reason they fail. Let's fix that right now. The prerequisite, unlocking the nervous system, the armor we wear. Before we can discuss the geometry of your body, we have to talk about the geography of your mind. Specifically, we have to talk about the invisible shield that most modern women wear 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I want you to think about your average day. You are likely managing a career, a household, a social life, and perhaps a family. You are constantly problem solving. You are constantly anticipating needs. You are living in a state of high functioning alertness. In psychology, we call this hypervigilance. It is a survival mechanism. It makes you excellent at your job and excellent at managing a crisis, but it makes you terrible at receiving intimacy. Why? Because hypervigilance is a form of armor. When your brain is in manager mode, your body mirrors that state. You might not realize it, but when you are stressed or focused, your jaw tightens, your shoulders creep up toward your ears. And most importantly for our conversation today, your pelvic floor creates a subconscious clench. This is not a voluntary action. It is a biological reflex. When an animal feels threatened or highly alert, it protects its most vulnerable organs. For a woman, that means the pelvic bowl creates a tension pattern, a literal physical hardening to protect the core of the body. You walk around with this armor all day long. It helps you get through meetings. It helps you handle traffic. And it helps you deal with difficult people. The problem arises when you come home, walk into the bedroom, and expect that armor to simply vanish because the lights are off. It doesn't work that way. You cannot go from warrior mode to goddess mode in the span of 30 seconds. When you try to have an intimate connection while this armor is still active, you experience the friction. Your partner might be physically close to you, but he is knocking on a locked door. Even if penetration happens, he is only interacting with the armor, not with the soft, vulnerable woman underneath. This is why so many women feel dry or tight or numb. Even when they want to be intimate, it isn't a lack of desire, it is an excess of defense. Your body is still trying to protect you. To achieve the 200% deeper state, we have to acknowledge that this armor exists. We have to stop forcing our bodies to perform when they are still in protection mode. We have to consciously, deliberately, and slowly tell the nervous system, the war is over. You are safe now. You can put the shield down. Only when the armor is removed can the true sensitivity of your internal nerves wake up. Depth requires softness, and softness requires safety. So how do we create that safety before we even touch the sheets? We build a bridge. The 5-minute bridge. Most couples make a fatal mistake. They treat sex as the transition. They use the act of sex to try to move from stress to relaxed. They think, I'm tired and wired. Maybe sex will help me unwind. But this is backwards. You cannot use the destination as the vehicle. If you try to jump from the chaos of your day straight into the vulnerability of intercourse, Your nervous system will suffer, bends like a diver coming up too fast. The gap is too wide. You need a transition. You need a bridge. I call this the 5-minute bridge. This is a non-negotiable ritual that must happen before any of the 3 positions we are about to learn. Without this bridge, the positions are just gymnastics. With this bridge, they become magic. Here is how it works. Before clothes are removed, before any heavy physical expectations are set, you must spend 5 minutes co-regulating your nervous systems. Co-regulation is a biological phenomenon where 2 mammals sync their heart rates and breathing patterns to signal safety to one another. Sit facing each other. You can be fully clothed. Hold hands or place one hand on his chest and have him place one hand on yours. And then do nothing but breathe. This will feel excruciatingly slow at first. Your busy brain will scream at you to get moving, to do something productive, or to just get on with it. Ignore that voice. That voice is the armor talking. Focus entirely on matching the rhythm of his breath. When he inhales, you inhale. When he exhales, you exhale. Watch his eyes. Do not look away. In our daily lives, we rarely hold eye contact for more than a few seconds. Prolonged eye contact triggers the release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone, and lowers cortisol, the stress hormone. After about 3 minutes of this synchronized breathing and eye locking, you will feel a physical shift. It often feels like a heavy sigh escaping your body. Your shoulders will drop. The tension in your jaw will release, and miraculously the subconscious clench in your pelvis will soften. You are telling your primal brain, I am with my mate, I am safe, I am seen. This 5-minute investment pays out dividends in the hour that follows. By the time you actually move to initiate physical intimacy, you are no longer two separate, stressed entities trying to rub against each other. You are a unified energetic circuit. You have built the bridge. Now you can walk across it together. This simple act primes your body to feel every inch of contact that is coming. It turns your skin from a barrier into a receiver. The psychology of being taken versus receiving. Now that the armor is down and the bridge is built, there is one final mental lock we need to turn. We need to shift your internal narrative about what is happening during intimacy. We need to discuss the difference between being taken and truly receiving. In our modern culture, there is a lot of confusion about passivity. Many women believe that to be deeply intimate or to be in a feminine state means to just lie back and let the man do the work. They view themselves as the object being acted upon. But in the world of deep, sacred intimacy, this is a misconception. Passivity is numb. Passivity is checking out. Passivity is waiting for it to be over. True depth requires an active state of receiving. Think of the difference between a cup sitting on a table and a flower opening to the sun. The cup is passive. It just sits there. The flower is active. It is stretching, unfurling, and creating space to absorb the light. To feel 200% deeper, you must move from the mindset of I am here to the mindset of I am opening myself to invite you in. This is a subtle but powerful psychological switch. When you are merely being taken, you are tolerating the sensation. When you are receiving, you are pulling the sensation into you. You are using your mind to actively draw his energy deeper into your core. This requires you to engage your imagination. As we move into the 3 positions, I want you to visualize your body not as a solid object, but as a vessel that is expanding. When you feel contact, imagine that contact traveling up your spine into your heart and flooding your mind. This mindset of active reception changes the way your muscles respond. Instead of bracing against the impact, your muscles learn to yield, learn to wrap around the sensation. You become magnetic. When a woman is in this state of active receiving, a man feels it instantly. He feels that he isn't just physically inside a body. He feels that he is being welcomed into a sanctuary. This triggers his instinct to protect, to worship, and to go slower. It creates a feedback loop of depth that feeds itself. So I want you to keep this word in the forefront of your mind invitation. You are not just lying there. You are issuing a silent, powerful invitation with your body, your breath, and your mind. You are saying, come closer. There is more of me to find. Position Phase 1, the soul alignment. Why? Standard missionary fails. We begin with the most common, the most traditional, and paradoxically, the most misunderstood position in human history, the missionary. For the vast majority of long-term couples, this position is the default. It is the position we start with, end with, and often tolerate because it is easy. But if we are honest, for many women, standard missionary is the definition of the shallow trap. It often feels disconnected, routine, and physically underwhelming. Why does the standard version fail so often? The problem lies in the physics of a flat back, in the typical variation. The woman lies flat on the mattress, legs spread but relaxed. The man positions himself between her legs and supports his weight on his hands or elbows. From a geometrical standpoint, this creates a misalignment. When your back is completely flat against the bed, your pelvis is tilted downward. This means that the angle of entry is not aligned with the internal architecture of your desire. Instead of stimulating the deep, nerve-rich anterior wall of the internal canal, the angle often forces the sensation toward the ceiling or the deepest back wall. For many women, this results in a sensation of bumping or hitting something uncomfortable, like the cervix, without generating any pleasurable friction on the parts that actually create the melting feeling. It becomes a sensation of thudding rather than gliding. Furthermore, the standard version creates a physical gap between the upper bodies. If he is propping himself up on his arms to look at you or to avoid crushing you, there is a distance between your chests. This distance is the enemy of emotional depth. It keeps you separate. You are two people interacting at the hips, but strangers at the heart. This separation allows the mind to wander because the physical sensation isn't capturing your full attention and the emotional connection isn't overwhelming you. You end up staring at the ceiling, waiting for the finish line. But here is the good news: the missionary position is not the problem. Gravity is the problem. With a few specific adjustments to the geometry, shifting the angle by just a few degrees and changing the distribution of weight, we can transform this boring default into the most profound soul-merging experience possible. We are going to turn the standard missionary into the soul alignment. The modification, kite geometry, the modification we are about to discuss is known in sex therapy circles as the coital alignment technique, or KT for short. But for our purposes, we will think of slide. This is not about being athletic. It is about leverage. The goal here is to shift the stimulation from a thrusting motion to a grinding motion. This is the secret to the 200% deeper feel. And here is the step-by-step geometry of the soul alignment. Step 1, the elevation. The flat back position is retired. To correct the pelvic tilt, we do not just need to lift the legs, we need to change the angle of the hips themselves. While you can use a pillow under the lower back, the most organic way to do this is to wrap your legs. Instead of leaving your legs flat or knees up, wrap your legs around his thighs or hips immediately. This naturally tilts your pelvis upward, exposing the anterior wall, the internal area richest in nerve endings, to the direct line of contact. Step 2, the slide. This is the most critical adjustment and the one most couples miss. In standard missionary, the man is often positioned low with his hips meeting your thighs. In the soul alignment, he must move his body higher up. He needs to slide forward until the base of his pelvis is resting directly on top of the base of yours. His pubic bone should be making firm, constant contact with your pubic bone. This creates a lock. Think of two puzzle pieces clicking into place. You are no longer two separate entities bumping into each other. You are two gears that have meshed together. Step 3, the motion. Once this bone-on-bone connection is established, the movement must change completely. The in and out thrusting, which is the hallmark of shallow intimacy, must stop. If he pulls away, the connection breaks and the pressure on the external nerves is lost. Instead, the movement becomes a rhythmic rocking pressure. It is a rocking horse motion. He moves his hips in a grinding, circular or up and down coordination with yours without breaking the contact at the base. Why does this create depth? Because technically, you are maintaining constant pressure on the external sensory zones while simultaneously stimulating the internal zones. It creates a dual action pressure cooker of sensation. Because there is no pulling away, the nervous system never gets a break. The sensation builds and builds without interruption. This geometry forces depth. Because he is positioned higher up on your body, the angle of entry is shallow in distance but incredibly deep in pressure. It stimulates the internal structures that trigger emotional release. When you get this geometry right, it feels like the entire room disappears. You aren't waiting for the next thrust. You are riding a continuous wave of pressure. It requires communication. You may need to guide his hips with your hands to keep him high and connected, but once he feels the difference in your response, he will never want to go back to the standard way. The emotional layer, the heart to heart lock. Now that we have fixed the geometry of the hips, we must address the geometry of the heart. Remember, the 200% deeper statistic from the 10,000 women wasn't just about physical pleasure, it was about feeling emotionally fused. The soul alignment position provides a unique opportunity that no other position offers. The heart to heart lock. In the standard version, as we mentioned, the man often holds his weight up off of you. In the soul alignment, we encourage the opposite. Once the lower body is locked in that rocking, gliding rhythm and him to lower his upper body completely onto yours, his chest should press against your chest. His head should rest next to yours, or his forehead should rest against yours. This full body weight contact creates a powerful psychological effect known as deep pressure therapy. You may have heard of weighted blankets and how they reduce anxiety and help with insomnia. The science behind this is that deep distributed pressure signals the parasympathetic nervous system to calm down. It lowers cortisol instantly. When your partner covers your body with his weight on weight, chest on chest, your body registers this as containment. For a woman who spends her day holding everything together, managing everyone's emotions and standing on her own 2 feet, the sensation of being physically covered and held down is profoundly liberating. It signals to your nervous system, you don't have to hold yourself up right now. I have you. But the most magical part of the heart-to-heart lock is the synchronization of rhythms. When your chests are pressed together, you can feel his heartbeat. He can feel yours. Biological mirroring takes over. Within minutes, your heart rates will actually begin to synchronize. Your breathing patterns will align without you even trying. This is where the soul aspect comes in. You are breathing the same air. You're moving to the same internal rhythm. The boundaries between his body and your body begin to blur. In this position, you are face to face. This is critical. You are close enough to whisper. You are close enough to kiss deeply and slowly without straining your neck. The intimacy loop is closed. Energy flows from his eyes to yours, from his heart to yours, and from his hips to yours in a continuous circle. There is no escape, and that is the point. You are forced to be present. You are forced to feel the weight of the connection. For many women, this position brings up emotion. It is not uncommon to cry in this position, because the feeling of being so thoroughly held touches a deep primal need for safety that we rarely get met in our modern independent lives. Let that emotion rise. That is the depth you've been looking for. It's the feeling of coming home, the secret micro movements. We have the geometry and we have the emotional connection. But there is one final layer to the soul alignment that differentiates the beginners from the masters. These are the micro movements, the tiny invisible adjustments that you as the woman can make to spike the sensation by another 50%. These movements are so small that he might not even see them happening, but he will certainly feel the change in the internal environment, and you will feel a drastic change in your own sensation. Micro movement finally won the sacral rock. Even though he is leading the rhythm, you are not passive. In the soul alignment, instead of thrusting back at him, focus on a tiny, subtle tilt of your pelvis. Imagine you are trying to pull your belly button toward your chin, then releasing it. This is a very small range of motion, maybe only an inch. But what this does is change the internal friction against the hot spots of the anterior wall. By tilting your pelvis up as he glides forward, you increase the pressure on the sweet spot. You are effectively chasing the pressure. It gives you control over the exact angle of stimulation. Micro movement pain to hide the leg wrap and squeeze. We talked about wrapping your legs, but let's get specific. There are 2 variations here that change the feeling. Variation A, the high wrap, wrapping your legs around his lower back or waist creates the deepest possible penetration and brings the bodies closest together. Variation B, the straight squeeze. Alternatively, you can straighten your legs flat against the mattress, but keep them tightly together, effectively sandwiching his leg or hip between yours. The secret is the or squeeze. Every few seconds, gently engage your inner thigh muscles to squeeze against his hips. This does 2 things. It feels amazing for him, but for you, it engages your pelvic floor muscles. When you engage those muscles while receiving stimulation, the blood flow to the area increases instantly. It wakes up the nerves, it turns up the volume on the sensation. Micro movement and 3E. The toe point, this sounds strange, but it is biologically rooted. When you feel a wave of pleasurable sensation, point your toes hard, tensing the muscles in your calves and feet. Why? Because the sciatic nerve runs from your feet all the way up through the pelvis. By creating tension in the extremities, you are sending a surge of electrical energy up the legs that funnels directly into the pelvic bowl. It creates a full body orgasm response rather than just a localized one. Micro movement ain't 40. The internal hug, finally, the most powerful micro movement is internal. Use your PC muscles to rhythmically pulse or hug him. Do this in sync with his movements. When he glides forward, you relax. When he glides back, you squeeze. This active participation keeps your mind focused. You can't be thinking about your grocery list when you are coordinating your micro movement. It anchors your mind in your body, By mastering the soul alignment, fixing the geometry, locking the hearts, and using these micro movements, you transform the most boring position into a spiritual experience. You have achieved depth through alignment. But sometimes depth isn't about facing each other. Sometimes depth comes from turning away and allowing yourself to be protected. We explore a position for the women who need to shut out the world completely to find themselves. Position Fight 2, Protective Embrace, the Psychology of Safety. We explored soul alignment, a position rooted in the power of being seen. We talked about locking eyes, sensing hearts, and facing the vulnerability of intimacy head on. But for many women, being seen is exactly what blocks their ability to reach deep satisfaction. Let's be honest about the mental load of intimacy. When you are face to face with a partner under the bright lights of expectation, a part of your brain is always performing. You are wondering, does my face look strange when I make noise? Is my stomach folding the right way? Does he like what he sees? This spectatoring, watching yourself from the outside, is the single biggest killer of female pleasure. It keeps your cortisol slightly elevated. It keeps your guard up. It prevents you from truly letting go because you are subconsciously managing your image. For the 10,000 women in the study who reported finding a 200% deeper connection, a significant portion of them didn't find it by looking at their partner. They found it by turning away from him. You might know this as spooning or side lying, but I want you to erase what you think you know about this position. We are not talking about the lazy morning cuddle version of spooning. We are talking about a specific intentional modification designed to trigger a primal sense of safety. The psychology here is rooted in our evolutionary biology. In nature, the back is the most vulnerable part of an animal. It is the blind spot. It is where predators attack. When a woman allows a man to cover her back completely, to act as a shield between her and the world, it sends a powerful signal to the reptilian brain. I am protected. Nothing can get to me. I can stop scanning for danger. When you are in the protective embrace, you are released from the duty of performance. You don't have to control your facial expressions. You don't have to suck in your stomach. Look sexy, you are free to close your eyes, go purely internal and focus 100% of your mental energy on the sensation happening inside your body. For women who carry high levels of insecurity or body shame, this position is often the gateway to their first true, deep experience. It allows you to disappear into the sensation. It creates a cocoon effect where the only thing that exists is the feeling of being surrounded. So if the soul alignment was about confrontation and connection, the protective embrace is about surrender and safety. It is for the nights when you don't want to perform, you just want to be held, filled, and kept safe. Now, let's look at the mechanics of how to do this without it feeling awkward or mechanically difficult. The angle of entry, entering the cave. Many couples attempt the spooning position and abandon it quickly. The complaints are usually the same. It's hard to get the angle right. It slips out, or I can't feel enough friction. These issues arise because most couples try to do this position with both partners' legs perfectly straight or both partners' legs curled up like shrimp. This creates a misalignment of the hips and makes entry difficult or shallow. To turn spooning into the protective embrace, we have to adjust the architecture. We need to create a stable structure I call the cave. The setup, the scissor modification. Lie on your side facing away from him, but instead of stacking your legs on top of each other, I want you to scissor them. Keep your bottom leg relatively straight or with a slight bend for balance. Now, draw your top leg up high, bringing your knee toward your chest, and let it rest on the mattress. This adjustment does three critical things. It opens the hips by raising the top leg. You naturally tilt your pelvis open. This creates a clear, accessible path for him without any awkward maneuvering. It creates stability. With your top leg anchored on the mattress, you are stable. You won't roll forward or backward. You have created a tripod. It allows the trop, he can now place his bottom leg between yours and lay his top leg over your top leg. You become interlaced. The entry angle. In this modified position, he enters from behind, but because of your leg placement, the angle is not the same as doggy style. Doggy style often creates a very deep, sometimes sharp angle that hits the cervix abruptly. It can be intense, but for many women, it is too jarring for relaxation. The protective embrace creates a shallower, more grinding angle. It allows for full body contact, his pelvis against your buttocks without the painful depth. It targets the posterior wall and the side walls of the internal canal, neglected in face-to-face positions. The glued principle, the key to the 200% deeper feeling in this position is surface area contact. You want to maximize the amount of skin touching skin. Back his body up against yours until there is zero air between you. His chest should be glued to your back. His stomach glued to your lower back. His thighs glued to the back of your thighs. This creates a sensation of heaviness that is incredibly grounding. You are literally being weighed down by his presence. This is sustainable intimacy, unlike other positions that require athletic stamina or holding yourself up. The protective embrace allows you to completely relax every muscle in your body. You can lay your head on the pillow and simply be. This relaxation is crucial. When your skeletal muscles stop working, your brain assumes you are sleeping or resting. It lowers the noise. It redirects blood flow from your limbs to your core. By being physically lazy, you become chemically primed for pleasure. The blindfold effect. We briefly touched on the freedom of not being seen, but now I want to talk about the power of not seeing. In the protective embrace, you are facing away from your partner. Depending on the lighting in the room, you might be facing a wall, a pillow, or darkness. This is not a disadvantage. This is a sensory hack. In neuroscience, there is a concept called proprioception. This is your body's ability to sense itself in space. When you remove one sense, your brain automatically turns up the volume on the other senses to compensate. It's the reason why music sounds better with your eyes closed, or why food tastes richer when you can't see it. By turning away from him, you are effectively blindfolding yourself regarding his actions. You cannot see his face. You cannot see his hands moving toward you. You can only feel them. This introduces the element of positive unpredictability. When you are face to face, you can anticipate his movements. You see his shoulder tensing, so you know a thrust is coming. You see his hand reaching, so you expect the touch. But in the protective embrace, you are living in a state of pure feeling. You feel his hand slide over your hip, but you didn't see it coming. You feel the rhythm change, but you didn't see the signal. This slight unpredictability keeps your brain deeply engaged in the now. You are forced to pay attention to the sensation because that is the only data feed you have. This creates a phenomenon I call the internal gaze. Instead of projecting your energy outward, you turn your energy inward. You begin to visualize the sensation. Many women report that in this position, their mental imagery becomes vivid. They can visualize the connection in colors or waves. They become hyper aware of their own internal landscape. This is where the 200% deeper sensation often solidifies, because you aren't distracted by the visual clutter of the room, the laundry pile in the corner, the light fixture. The expression on his face, your entire consciousness descends into your pelvis. You begin to feel the boundaries of your body dissolving because he is covering your back. And you are feeling the sensation inside. It can feel as though you are encompassed by him. You are inside the experience rather than observing it. For women who struggle with monkey mind, the brain that won't shut up, this blindfold effect is often the cure. When you remove the visual stimuli, the brain has less to process. It has no choice but to focus on the tactile. If you find yourself struggling to stay present, I recommend closing your eyes completely in this position. Press your face into the pillow. Breathe in the scent of the fabric. Shrink your world down until it is just the size of your body. The smaller your world becomes, the deeper the sensation feels. In this darkness, you are not lonely, you are enveloped. And that brings us to the final element that makes this position emotionally devastating in the best way possible to sound. The 200% shift, the neck and ear connection. We have established the safety, the angle, and the internal focus, but there is one missing piece. If we stay only in the physical and the mental, we might drift into sleepiness. To keep the erotic tension high, to ensure this is deep intimacy and not just cuddling, we need a spark in the protective embrace. Since your mouths are not aligned for kissing, the focal point of connection shifts to one of the most highly sensitive, underrated erotic zones on the female body, the neck and the ear. Biologically, the neck is a high-stakes area. It houses the jugular vein and the vagus nerve. In the animal kingdom, exposing the neck is the ultimate sign of submission and trust. When you allow a partner to breathe against, kiss, or lightly bite the back of your neck while he is intimately connected to you, it triggers a massive biological response. It sends a shiver down the spine, literally. This is not just a figure of speech. Stimulation of the nerve endings on the neck sends electrical impulses directly down the spinal column to the pelvic region. It is a direct hotline to your pleasure centers, the neck. Instruct your partner to bring his face right into the crook of your neck and shoulder. The sensation of his hot breath against your cool skin creates a temperature contrast that keeps your nerves firing. It is a constant reminder of his presence, the auditory loop. Because his mouth is right next to your ear, this position is the holy grail for auditory intimacy. This is where the whisper becomes a weapon of mass affection. When he speaks to you in this position, his voice resonates through your chest wall and enters directly into your ear. It feels like his voice is inside your head. This is the time for him to use low, affirming vocalizations. It doesn't need to be dirty talk. If that's not your style, it can be as simple as him whispering your name or saying, "I've got you," or "You feel so good." Hearing these words while feeling the safety of his embrace creates a psychological imprint of adoration. Remember, many women feel oozed. In intimacy, if there is no emotional feedback, in the protective embrace, because he cannot look you in the eyes to show you he loves you, he must tell you. And because you are in a state of sensory deprivation, those land with 200% more impact. They bypass your cynicism and go straight to your heart, the anchor hold. Finally, to seal this connection, use your hands in this position. Your hands are free. Reach back and pull his arms tighter around you. Clasp his hands over your chest or your stomach. By holding his hands while he holds you, you create a closed circuit. He is surrounding you and you are anchoring him there. This gesture says, "I am safe here." Don't let go. The protective embrace is the position of the slow burn. It is not about the sprint. It is about the marathon. It allows you to stay connected for 20, 30, or 40 minutes without fatigue. It allows you to drift in and out of waves of pleasure while feeling completely shielded from the demands of the world. But there are times when you don't want to be shielded. There are times when you don't want to surrender. There are times when the depth you seek comes from taking back your power and controlling the depth yourself. For that, we must rise. We will explore the final position, the one that turns you from the protected into the empress. Position Fanny 3, the empress, the psychology of control. We have explored the comfort of the soul alignment and the safety of the protective embrace. Both of these positions rely on a certain level of yielding. They are about allowing yourself to be held, allowing yourself to be moved, and allowing yourself to be covered. But there is a different kind of depth. There is a depth that does not come from surrender, but from sovereignty. There is a depth that comes when you are the one deciding exactly how deep the water goes. You may know a variation of this as Kogo or simply being on top, but I want to reframe this immediately. In pop culture, the woman on top position is often portrayed as a performance. It is shown as a high energy visual display for the male gaze. It's about looking sexy, bouncing energetically, and putting on a show. For the 10,000 women seeking 200% deeper connection, this performative mindset is a trap. If you are worrying about how your body looks from below, or if you are exhausting yourself trying to be an acrobat, you are not connecting. You are working. Empress variation is not about performance. It is about calibration. The psychology of this position is rooted in the concept of agency. In every other position, you are dependent on his movement, his rhythm, and his depth. You can guide him, but ultimately, he is the driver. In the Empress, you take the wheel. This is terrifying for some women, but is also the most chemically liberating shift you can make. When you are on top, gravity is working for you, not against you. You possess the ability to control the depth of penetration down to the millimeter. You control the speed. You control the angle. This eliminates the fear of pain. Many women subconsciously brace themselves during intimacy because they are afraid a sudden movement might hurt or hit a sensitive spot wrong. When you are the Empress, that fear vanishes because you are the one moving. When the fear vanishes, the pelvic floor drops. When the pelvic floor drops, the canal opens. And when the canal opens, depth becomes possible. This position changes the dynamic in the room. It tells your partner, I am not just here to be acted upon. I am here to meet you. It allows you to explore your own pleasure map without asking for permission. You are no longer a passenger on the journey. You are the navigator. So how do we do this without feeling self-conscious about our bodies or tired in our legs? We change the configuration. We stop trying to be porn stars and we start trying to be statues. We move from the call girl to the lotus. The lotus configuration, the mistake most women make when getting on top is relying on their knees and their shins. They try to hover. They try to hold their weight up to look light and airy. This burns out your quad muscles in about 3 minutes. And once your muscles are screaming, your ability to feel pleasure shuts down. The lotus configuration solves this. It is based on the ancient tantric position of Yab Yum, which translates to father, mother. It is a position of total stability and total contact. The setup, the throne. Have your partner sit up. He can be propped up against the headboard of the bed with pillows or even sitting in a sturdy chair. He needs to be stable and comfortable. creating a throne for you to mount the wrap. Instead of kneeling over him with your shins on the mattress, you're going to sit directly on him. Swing your legs over his hips. But here is the key modification. Do not leave your feet on the bed. Wrap your legs entirely around his waist or his lower back. Cross your ankles behind him if you can, or simply squeeze your calves against his ribs. By wrapping your legs, you remove your own legs from the equation. You are no longer supporting your own weight. You are completely supported by his body and the structure of the position. Your weight settles deeply onto his pelvis, the anchor point. In this configuration, your root chakra is directly aligned with his because you are sitting fully down, not hovering. The contact is total. There is no air. There is no space. You are sealed together at the base. This creates the maximum possible depth. Gravity pulls you down, ensuring that the connection remains unbroken. But because you are seated and wrapped, it feels effortless. You can stay in this position for an hour without getting tired because bone is resting on bone, the embrace. Because he is sitting up and you are facing him, your upper bodies naturally come together. You can wrap your arms around his neck. He can wrap his arms around your waist or back. This creates a closed circle of energy. In standard Kogurl, the woman is often upright, separated from the man putting on a display. In the lotus, you are collapsed into each other. You are effectively hugging him with your entire body, arms, legs, and internal muscles. This configuration changes the sensation of fullness. Because your legs are wrapped high, your pelvic floor is naturally stretched and open. It exposes the deepest parts of the internal canal to stimulation without any obstruction. It also creates a sensation of grounding. For women who feel flighty or anxious, the feeling of being literally anchored to your partner in this way creates a heavy, warm sense of security. You are the empress on the throne, but the throne is him. You are powerful, but you are also held. This is the physical structure. But the real intensity of the empress doesn't come from the legs. It comes from what happens between the faces. The gaze of truth. We have arrived at the most challenging and most rewarding component of the twofold 100% deeper experience. In the protective embrace, we use the safety of not looking to build depth. But in the empress, we use the raw power of the gaze. When you are in the lotus configuration, your faces are level. You are breathing the same air. There is nowhere to look but at him. And this is where most women instinctively panic. They look at his shoulder. They look at the ceiling. They close their eyes tight. They bury their face in his neck. Why? Because prolonged eye contact during intimacy is one of the most vulnerable acts a human being can perform. It feels like being naked twice. It strips away the pretense. If you are faking it, your eyes will give you away. If you are insecure, your eyes will show it. But if you want to reach that 200% deeper state, the state where you feel fused with him, you must brave the gaze, the science of the soul gaze. When you look into another person's eyes for longer than 10 seconds, a process called limbic resonance begins. Your brain scans his pupil dilation. It reads the micro expressions around his eyes. If you are intimate while locking eyes, your brain begins to mirror his state. If he is feeling love and pleasure, your brain copies that pattern and amplifies it. You essentially download his desire for you. Many women struggle to feel desirable. We can hear compliments, but we don't believe them. But when you are in the empress position, moving with him, and you look directly into his eyes, you see the desire. You see the way he looks at you when he is in a state of awe. You cannot deny the evidence right in front of your face. This visual feedback loop is intoxicating. It floods the brain with dopamine and oxytocin. It creates a trance state. How to overcome the awkwardness. If looking him in the eyes feels too intense or scary, start with the third eye technique. Look at the spot just between his eyebrows or at the bridge of his nose. To him, it will look like eye contact, but for you, it is slightly less piercing. Once you feel comfortable, slide your gaze to his left eye. Hold it. Do not try to look sexy. Do not try to make a bedroom face. Just look at him. Let him see you. Let him see that you are enjoying him. In the study of 10,000 women, those who mastered eye gaze reported that the physical sensation of sex changed. They reported that the boundaries of their body seemed to dissolve. They stopped feeling like, I am feeling this sensation in my pelvis, and started feeling, we are this sensation. This is the gaze of truth. It says, I am not hiding from you. I am here. I am yours, and I am taking you. It transforms the act from a physical release into a declaration of commitment. And when you combine this piercing emotional connection with the right physical rhythm, you become unforgettable. The rhythm of the ocean, the final piece of the Empress puzzle, is the movement. And this is where most women get the mechanics wrong, leading to shallow sensation instead of deep connection. When we think of woman on top, we usually think of bouncing. We think of a vertical up-down piston motion. While this can be visually stimulating for him, it is actually the least effective movement for female depth. Bouncing is linear, it is staccato. It often means the point of contact is constantly breaking and reconnecting. It creates friction at the entrance, but it rarely stimulates the deep internal walls where the nerve endings for fullness lie. To achieve the 200% deeper feeling, you must abandon the bounce and adopt the rhythm of the ocean. Think of a buoy floating on the sea. It doesn't just go up and down, it rolls, it sways, it moves in circles. The grind viz, the bounce in the lotus configuration, because your legs are wrapped, you are locked in. Bouncing is actually difficult in this position. Instead, you want to focus on a circular grinding motion. Imagine you are sitting on a clock face. Try to move your hips to hit 12 o'clock, then 3, then 6, then 9. Roll your pelvis in a slow, deliberate circle. Why is this deeper? Continuous contact, unlike bouncing, where contact is lost, grinding maintains 100% of the time. The nervous system never gets a rest, so the sensation accumulates rapidly. 360-degree stimulation. A circular motion massages the entire circumference of the internal canal. You are hitting the anterior wall, the posterior wall, and the side walls in a continuous loop. The clitoral anchor, in this seated position, your pubic bone is pressed against his. When you move in a circle, you create a constant massaging friction on the external focal point while simultaneously stimulating the internal depth. It is a dual stimulation engine, the slow burn. The key to the Empress is to move slower than you think you should. Fast movement triggers the friction response. Slow, heavy movement triggers the pressure response. Grind slowly. Let the sensation build. Use your wrapped legs to pull yourself tighter against him. Lean back to change the angle, then lean forward into his chest to ground it. You are the ocean. He is the shore. You are washing over him again. When you control the rhythm in this way, circular, slow, relentless, you are not just having sex. You are putting both of you into a trance. You are creating a shared rhythm that feels hypnotic. This is the power of the Empress. You are safe, you are seen, and you are sovereign. By mastering these 3 positions, the soul alignment for heart connection, the protective embrace for safety, and the Empress for power, you have a complete toolkit. You can choose the depth you need on any given night, but the journey isn't quite over. The physical act eventually ends. And what happens in the 5 minutes after the act creates the memory that lasts forever. The invisible thread, the afterglow protocol. We have spent the last hour discussing how to prepare for depth, how to align your body for depth, and how to move for depth. There is one final trap that causes 90% of couples to lose all the magic they just created within minutes of the act ending. It is the disconnection. We have all felt it. The moment the physical intimacy concludes, the real world comes rushing back in. There is an instinct to pull away. There is an instinct to get up, go to the bathroom, check the phone, or simply roll over and go to sleep. In psychology, there is a term for the sudden drop in mood that happens after intimacy post-coital tristis. It is that fleeting feeling of loneliness or emptiness that hits you right after the peak. It happens because your dopamine is crashing, and if you physically separate too quickly, your nervous system registers a loss of connection. If you get up and leave the bed immediately, your brain categorizes the experience as a physical event. It becomes something you did, like a workout or a meal. But if you want to lock in that 200% deeper feeling, if you want to carry that magnetism into the next day, the next week, and the rest of your relationship, you must practice the afterglow protocol. This is the rule of the final 5 minutes. When the movement stops, do not move away. Do not break the physical contact. I call this maintaining the invisible thread. Even if you need to adjust for comfort, ensure that skin is still touching skin. Lay your head on his chest, entwine your legs, hold his hand. The geometry matters less here than the continuity. For 5 minutes, do not speak about logistics. Do not ask, what time do we have to be up? Or did you lock the door? Those questions are libido killers. They drag you out of the right brain and slam you back into the left brain. Instead, stay in the silence. Why? Because human memory is encoded in these quiet moments. Neuroscientists tell us that the brain consolidates memories during rest. If you stay entwined, breathing together in the afterglow, your brain takes a snapshot of this feeling of safety and love. It wires this feeling into your long-term memory. You are effectively telling your partner's nervous system, I didn't just want your body, I wanted you. And I am still here. This is the difference between making love. Sex ends when the friction stops. Making love continues into the stillness. So tonight, when the moment passes, resist the urge to rush. Stay, let the dust settle while you're still holding each other. This is the seal that locks the energy in. This is how you ensure that the depth isn't just a fleeting moment, but a permanent state of union. The final secret summary of the deep mindset. We have traveled a long way together in this video. We have deconstructed the anatomy of the pelvis, the psychology of the nervous system, and the geometry of connection. We looked at the soul alignment, where we learned that depth comes from grinding, gliding, and locking hearts. We explored the protective embrace, where we learned that sometimes depth requires us to be blind, safe, and surrounded. And we ascended to the empress, where we learned that the deepest connection often comes when we take the throne and demand to be seen. But I want to leave you with one final truth. The secret of the 10 Zalos in women, the women who found that 200% deeper feeling, was not ultimately about the positions. The positions were just the keys. You are the door. True depth is not something your partner gives to you. It is not something that happens to you because he hit the right angle. True depth is a permission slip you sign for yourself. It is the decision to stop performing. It is the decision to drop the armor of the manager and the mother and the boss at the bedroom door. It is the decision to breathe, to vocalize, and to receive. These 3 positions are powerful tools. They are designed to hack your biology and force your nervous system to relax. But they only work if you bring your mind with you. You are not broken. You do not need to be fixed. You simply need to be aligned. When you align your body with the right geometry and your mind with the right safety, the depth you are craving is inevitable. It is your birthright as a woman to feel deeply. Do not settle for the shallows. If you have watched until this very minute, it tells me something about you. It tells me that you are not looking for cheap tricks. You are a seeker. You are looking for a connection that transcends the physical and touches the soul. And that is exactly what we build here on this channel. We are building a sanctuary for women who want to understand the psychology behind the desire. So I have a request for you. If this video opened your eyes, if it gave you a new tool to try, or if it simply validated what you have always felt, I want you to leave a specific word in the comments below. I want you to comment on the word deepen. Let that word be your affirmation. Let it be a signal to me that you are ready to claim the intimacy you deserve. I read every single comment, and I want to know who my serious students are. And finally, if you haven't already, click that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell. In the next video, we are going to explore the psychology of his desire, what he is thinking when he looks at you, and how to trigger his obsession. You won't want to miss it. Go practice the positions. Use the bridge. Drop the armor. I will see you in the next video. Stay magnetic.